I can't believe you can be this confident, Karen, groaned Jane as she and her best friend/classmate entered the grocery store. We just passed the preliminary round, we can't be sure we'll really get the championship. JJ, Desi's undefeated for years. Plus ever since Mike became the president, the club improved a great deal. Even Coach told us that himself. And you're in the team. The second speaker nonetheless. And that's supposed to win us a lot of points, was the sarcastic reply. Of course. Karen gasped in the response. You have to be more confident in yourself, Jay. You did great in the last match. You were a natural back there. If you joined the club earlier, I'm sure you'd be a more famous debater than my cousin or any other guy out there. I am confident in myself, but we can't be too confident against all the schools. Not to mention, there's still the SLI High. They were first runner-up last year. They could come up as finalists again and defeat us if we're not careful. We can never be sure until the match ends. Jane, what is going on with you? Karen stopped walking and looked at her best friend in the eyes. Where did all the fierceness you showed to those SLI blockheads last week, huh? You got scared when you saw them in the preliminary round? Really? Jane raised a brow. What? Just checking. She grinned. I know nothing could really scare you. Not even SLI's the mark. Are we really discussing this again? Fine. But I still believe we'll crush all of them. Especially them. Pouted the girl. Her best friend just gave her a stern look. Humph. And here, I thought you'd hate SLI after you made Davy Boy apologize the other day. That's our first defeat against them. Who's defeated? Jane raised a brow again, a sly smirk on her lips. Karen just stared at her friend's back, heading for the drinks area. Jane had something on her sleeves again. She grinned. Not long after, Jane held 2 brands of pineapple juice in boxes, struggling to choose between the two. Car, you're the one who usually buys the snacks, what will the guys want? I prefer this brand, said a male voice as a hand took the box in her right hand from behind her. What the? Jane immediately spun around, only to bump into a very masculine chest. When she regained from shock, her light pink eyes met sparkling light blue ones. And kind of familiar too. You were really chivalrous earlier, JJ. I'd like to give my thanks, and maybe have a little chat. Mark whispered softly. Their faces inches apart. There's no need to. The gal answered coldly. I wasn't complimenting or anything. Right. He leaned in closer. What do you want? Surprisingly, Jane was not at all bothered by the closeness, and even stared at him straight in the eyes, hard. I told you, I want to thank you. Mark rested his hands on either side of her head and turned his eyes to her lips. I told you, it's not needed. Get a room, a nonchalant voice said, from a man who stopped right beside them to get a box of mango juice. Geez, kids these days. Coach. Jane flushed and pushed the guy in front of her with all her might. What are you doing here? Isn't it obvious? Wait, Jane? Her coach blinked at her and immediately turned to look at the guy she was with, his mouth hung open when he did. Mark. Long time no see, coach. Mark greeted cheerfully. The older man just stared in shock at the sight of Mark. And the first thing that he said after that was, Are you two going out? No. Yup, was Mark's happy reply. Jane just gaped at him. For real? You two really are? He stared at them with wide eyes, surprise and confusion mirroring in them. Seriously? Coach, this isn't what you think. Jane tried to explain, panic seeping into her voice. Yup. Mark grinned, as he easily dropped his arm around her shoulders and pulled her close to him. We're actually shopping right now in celebration of our schools passing the prelims. Jane continued to gape at him. I really can't believe this. Does Mike know? The coach shook his head in disbelief. How on earth did this happen? More importantly, how on earth did Mark manage to get through Jane? The said Jane who can stare down all the boys at Desi. Does this mean that Desi boys are not enough for Jane, that she chose someone from another school? And from SLI, of all schools? Jane swallowed hard. Coach. Anyway, Coach, don't you have some shopping to do? Mark interrupted again. Oh yeah, right. He shook his head. Maria asked me to do some shopping today. Just great. As if I don't have a lot of papers to check. But guys, really, are you two really? No, we are not, Coach. Believe me. Jane interrupted, and before Mark could say anything more. I don't even know this guy. Aw, come on, babe, don't be mean. I already said I'm sorry. Just forgive me already, please. What on earth are you talking about? Jane looked at his imploring face in disbelief. A lover's quarrel, huh? What? Coach, no. I really don't know this guy. You know better than to believe him. Based on what I've seen earlier, I really can't not believe him. The coach just shook his head. Wait. See me first thing Monday morning, okay, Jane? The older man said seriously, although his eyes were dancing in amusement. Coach. Jane called at him as he walked away mumbling about beef and chicken meats. See you around, Coach, Mark said. The coach just gave a little wave over his shoulder. Why the hell did you do that? Jane hissed angrily, knocking his arm away. What were you thinking? He wouldn't have believed us if we denied it. Mark grinned. Of course he would. She growled. No, he wouldn't. We looked like we were really making out at all angles, you know. Don't be ridiculous. Jane looked around and noticed that the other customers were slipping glances in their direction shyly, some disgusted. She groaned. She recognized some freshman DSENs giggling as they stole looks at them. Mark smirked. That's just how it is, JJ. He planted a kiss on her forehead before she could push him again. I'll take this one, he said, indicating the box of juice she was still holding. See you later, babe. Jane gritted her teeth at his retreating back. So that is why, Karen gasped. She witnessed the whole thing and smiled mischievously at her friend's direction. The SLI's YDC president and Jane, huh? She giggled. And to think I was teasing her to him the other week. She's not sure if this is good or bad news, all she knows is that she can't wait for her cousin's reaction to this. Because whether there really is something going on between Jane and Mark, the fact that the dude looked totally into Jane is something Mike will never like. So, Karen approached her fuming friend slowly. Do you still need help with that? She said, gesturing to the juice. Me home, was the only reply Jane said as she pushed the juice in her hand and angrily stomped away. Wait! What about the party? Do you really think I'm still in the mood for that? She stopped and glared at her best friend. Well, you saw everything, right? That mongrel. It's just a joke. You got served. It happens. It's not a big deal. Unless. Don't you even think about it, growled Jane fiercely. Come on, JJ, just let it go. Coach Allen said to see him first thing Monday morning. You know what that means? He's going to congratulate you? Karen. All right. I'm sorry. Karen chuckled. We don't even know each other. How dare he? Jane screamed in frustration, making almost everyone in the store look at them. Technically you do, Karen pointed out. Mike said you nagged on him the other week. Jane screamed again. Stop doing that, JJ. Is that what he does to every girl he sees? That womanizing jerk. Maybe. What did it feel like, JJ? Karen asked, smiling at her innocently. We didn't kiss, if that's what you mean. She growled. Oh. Is that why you're angry? Home. Jane screamed as she pointed to herself and walked away again, not turning back even how many times Karen called her back. This girl really. Hey, you two freshman brats over there. Karen called to the two DSEN first years nearby who were giggling over something on the phone they were holding. The two of them looked at each other and swallowed before slowly going over to their senior. Good evening, one of them managed to breathe over her nervousness while the other one just stared, horrified. Yeah, well, what's that you're looking at? She said, pointing to the phone. We'll delete it immediately. The first one said in panic and really did try to delete whatever it was, but Karen took the phone before she could really do it. What are you spouting nonsense for? She frowned at them. This is about what happened earlier, right? Oh, a video. We're really sorry. Please don't tell her. The two really looked scared. Just thinking about what Jane might do to them when she finds out made them wish they didn't even go to Desi High in the first place. Nice. Karen grinned at them when she finished watching. You got it perfectly. The younger girls just looked at each other in confusion. Tell you what, I'm not going to tell JJ about this, but you have to upload this on our school's webpage. Are you crazy? The second girl suddenly blurted out incredulously. Karen immediately raised a brow at her. Sorry. No, girly girl, I'm not crazy. But she'll kill us if we do that, said the other one. No, she won't. She'll never find out. The senior grinned again. Or would you prefer she finds out right now? I could call her immediately, you know. Karen took her phone from her pocket and started dialing Jane's number. Wait. Please. We'll do it. They said together in panic. Good girls. Also, make sure everyone at school finds out what happened earlier by Monday morning. What but? No more buts. She shook her head and waved her phone in front of them. Are you going to do it, or are you going to do it? We'll do it. They both said slowly as if they were about to cry. Good. What are your names? She smiled at them. I'm Rachel, said the first one. And she's April, she said, pointing to her friend. Well, Rachel and April, I think we will be seeing each other a lot from now on. Here. Karen returned the phone to Rachel. What if they don't believe us? Asked April, in an attempt to back out. If anyone asks if those two are really an item, tell them you saw the whole thing firsthand and that you had confirmation from someone close to JJ. Any more questions? Why are you doing this? I can tell you, but I'll have to make your high school life miserable. Is that okay? The two swallowed and shook their heads furiously. Okay, see you later. Karen waved them goodbye and left the store. If Jane is infamous for her temper, Karen is known for her blackmailing ways. She's not really mean, just a bit pushy, and just like Jane, will stop at nothing to get what she wants. Don't you worry, JJ. You're going to have your very first boyfriend by the time the championship ends. She smirked to herself confidently.